It's a very big mystery, and it's a very complicated situation. There's a very complicated psychology of a miracle worker, any miracle worker. There is a particular grace and a particular merits, and some are supposed to be healed and some are not supposed to be healed. And it is indeed, like, it's a great mystery. I don't have a direct answer. But every person that starts performing miracles will be faced with that dilemma, because many people will say, look, you've healed so-and-so. I'm your friend from childhood. I'm your mother. I'm your whatever. Why don't you heal me? Some things are just meant to be as such, and others, they have, like, it's probably related to very particular karmic conjunctions and very particular lessons that are to be learned by certain difficulties, diseases, and so forth. You know, why did Peter got released out of jail? An angel came to release Peter out of jail. Well, if he could do that, why didn't he release all of them? Why did he let Paul get beheaded? You know? Still, there is a certain course, there is a certain story that needs to be told, and some difficulties, diseases, challenges, they are there for the benefit of the person who is going through them. The soul needs to learn something, and other souls need to learn something by a miracle. You know, this Gavril that we mentioned, he was a drunk. He didn't do anything good in his faith. He did very little good. And still, he received this tremendous grace, and he lives in tremendous faith in Christ ever since then. And he's forgiven for so many sins. But that's his course of life, and that's his way of learning. The souls have very, very particular ways of learning their lessons, and difficulties are not necessarily, you know, it's not always so obvious. Sometimes difficulties are very needed, and in the absence of them, we can't grow more.
Everything what Uriel said, very important. And also just to underline that we don't know that Jesus didn't heal his disciples. Yeah, these are interpretations that we can see in shows like The Chosen and so forth. It's not, this is not something from the gospel, right? We didn't hear anything of such nature. In the gospel, there's no child dying of Peter, and there's no, you know, crippled disciples or anything. But instead, all of his disciples either partake in Jesus's miracles or experience them within their lives. So, for example, John, who is the only one who died of old age, it was not because of the shortage of torture that he went through. They put him into a burning vessel, like this burning oil or whatever terrible thing they would do, but he would just not burn. So eventually they were like, okay, this is kind of pointless. We are wasting all this good oil. So then they put him in exile on an island where he grew old and then wrote the Revelation. So all these kinds of miracles actually happened for the disciples. So it's good to keep this in mind. And Jesus's miracles, as much as nowadays, especially from the evangelist viewpoint, it's often depicted as if, well, there was only Jesus who was sacred and everybody else was basically like halfway an idiot. But if you read the gospel, what you will notice is he is always practicing his miracles through his disciples. Not always, sorry, but oftentimes. Like, for example, in the case of the fish, loaf and fish, when he multiplies the bread and the fish, he will break the bread and the fish, give it to the disciples and say, feed everybody. And then they go and it's multiplying, you know, or he was asking them to baptize in order to free from sin. So I feel sometimes when we look a little bit through this modern viewpoint, it's already a bit distorted. And I would much encourage you to actually read the gospel, all of them, because it's very inspiring to see how much we are actually all, like you were saying, we are the mouth and the eyes and the ears and I don't know what, we are all encouraged to partake in these miraculous events that Jesus can bring, Christ can bring still now.
If you like this video and want to learn more about Tantra, about yoga, about psychology, emotional healing, lives of saints and the scriptures,
Then hit the bell, like, subscribe, and you'll never miss an upload. Thank you so much.